Well, welcome to week 5 of the semester. I hope your week is off to a better start than mine has been. In addition to my daughter's mom still having COVID, having to deal with that, I've now got some good friends whose daughter has got COVID, and where they are right now is the father and one of their daughters spends all her time upstairs, and then the mother and the daughter who has COVID are now in the basement. They're obviously self-isolating, and and then they use the main floor, the kitchen, and so forth at different times until they get through this. They can't leave the house, obviously, and so one of the things that I've been doing is going to the store for them and running errands and this kind of a thing, and it's added some additional turbulence to an already kind of turbulent and stressful life, which means I've been running behind on a lecture that I've really enjoyed putting together, and I hope that you enjoy when I show it to you in just a bit. In the meantime, some housekeeping details. First, there'll be only one quiz this week, a 10-point quiz that will be distributed at 5 p.m. on Friday and due at 5 p.m. on Monday, not Sunday at 5, but Monday at 5, to give some of you some additional time to study if you like, and others of you plenty of time to enjoy the Super Bowl and whatever activities you've got in store to enjoy that. I assume that more of you are interested in the game than usual because the Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl, so I'll certainly be watching. Okay, so there's that. Let's see, what else I need to tell you about. We're going to continue to work on your writing. I've heard a couple of students who sort of express some apprehension about that. They've had a sense that well, if they aren't doing terribly well in the quizzes right now, that will sort of be like a sort of a straight trend line all through. And that's not the case. That's certainly not intended to be the case. And I don't think that's going to be the outcome. The reason I'm drilling down so hard about your writing is so that you'll do well when you get to the midterm and some other assignments. I would much rather have you work out the kinks in your writing and have me have a chance to help you with your writing when only 5 points is at stake, or come this week 10 points is at stake, rather than the 250 points, 25% of your grade that will be at stake on the midterm examination, the 35% of your grade that will be at stake on the final examination, plus the writing elements in the objective parts of the midterm examination and final examinations, in addition to the essays. So there's a tremendous amount of points that are at stake that depend in some measure on how well you write, how well you're able to express yourself analytically and in terms of composition and organization, so that I'm able to give you as much credit for your ideas as possible. So if you're concerned about that, bear in mind, keep a sense of perspective. We're talking about a minuscule set of points for the course that should pay tremendous dividends down the line. That's my hope, anyway. So let's get started with the first of this week's presentations. The house behind me is a house that was owned once by Penelope Barker and her husband. We don't care about her husband. We do care about Penelope Barker. She was the organizer of something that has become known as the Edenton Tea Party. This is Edenton, North Carolina. It's in eastern North Carolina on the Chowan River. And in October 1774, she organized 51 women in Edenton to not just boycott the purchase of British goods such as tea and cloth and so on, but also to draw up a set of resolves. And the women, 51 of them, signed these resolves and mailed the resolves to England. And this action has become known ever since as the Edenton Tea Party, or really I shouldn't say ever since, because for a while this event was not very well known in the United States. We'll talk about that in a bit. Now, this was a bold political act by anybody, but it was one of the first political acts undertaken by women in the colonies. They had been involved with the boycotts of English goods for some years. They had been in the streets during the Stamp Act crisis in 1765. They'd been involved in other ways, but this was an instance in which they formally petitioned the government, put their names down, and sent it off to the British government over in London. And unlike the perpetrators of the famous Boston Tea Party, who remained anonymous, these women, put their names on the line and potentially their lives on the line for what they believed in. And one might or might not think, you might probably think, well, Professor Guernsey, what does this have to do with military history? Well, I'll tell you, and some of you will already be familiar with this, and some of you will not. There is a conception of insurgency that was put together by Mao Zedong, who was the leader of the communist forces during the Chinese Civil War, which went on for a long time. And Mao Zedong's idea about people's war, his theory of people's war, is that it proceeds in three phases. Phase one is the organization and politicization phase. This is the point where you get the people who are under an oppressive government, and you organize those who are upset with that government. And for those who aren't, you politicize them. You make them politically aware about the oppressor government and that there are political, the politics that are at stake here. And so this is the phase really where you organize a revolutionary movement, and you undertake actions that may be protests and sometimes violence that can extend to assassinations, or in the case of the American Revolution, no assassinations, but tar and feathering of certain British officials, but stops short of war. Well, the Edenton Tea Party is part of this organization and politicization phase during the American Revolution. And then, according to Mao Zedong's ideas of people's war, the next stage would be insurrection and guerrilla warfare against the oppressor government. And then the third phase would be, once you become strong enough, is conventional warfare aimed at finally overthrowing this oppressor government. And this is the way things played out in the American Revolution, although the conventional phase of the war and the guerrilla and insurrection phase occurred more or less simultaneously. But the organization and politicization phase, the foundation on which this whole revolution rested, this foundation was laid between 1763 and 1775, and the Edenton Tea Party was part of this. And I say all this by way of introduction to the first of this week's presentations, and it's on women and war between 1600 and 1900. And I'll meet with you to talk about this on the other side. Okay, just a moment. I'm going to stop recording, and then the next thing you know, I'll be starting to record again. All right, just a moment.